When this movie was first announced, I was like, I'm in. I'm a big fan of the Winter Soldier, and I like all the other characters. Let's go. And then the trailers started coming out for this movie, and I was even more in because the trailers looked great. And then walking into the year of 2025, more people were excited for Fantastic Four, I'd say, among the fandom. And I felt a little weird because I was like, actually, I know Fantastic Four has the name brand, but I'm more excited for the Thunderbolts. And I felt a little weird because Fantastic Four is on the other side, right? Well, after seeing Thunderbolts, I'm very happy to report to you that this movie is great. It's a really good movie and a great return to form for Marvel. Now, obviously, this is my review for the Thunderbolts. First, I'm going to start with a couple of minutes, just non-spoiler, just give you my thoughts on that, and then I'll give you a spoiler warning because I want to dive into some spoilery things. We're not going to talk about everything, but we're going to talk about some things, okay? Also, before we get started, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Would really appreciate that. This Marvel movie made me feel things, you know what I mean? Through watching it, it made me feel things like joy and excitement for the franchise, excitement for a superhero movie. And it also made me feel sadness because it tackles some deep themes of depression and loneliness, things that we as humans can all relate to. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm really drawn to. I'm drawn to a compelling narrative, a compelling character study. Yes, the pow, pow, pow and the action sequences are great. That's where the excitement and fun comes in. But when you can tell a story set in this world that focuses just on great characters and storytelling, and characters talking to each other and exchanging dialogue can be the most interesting part of your movie, then you're doing a really good job, in my opinion, because you're making the audience care about the story and the characters. Yelena, Florence Pugh is amazing. Red Guardian, David Harbour is great. Big fan of the Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan. John Walker, Wyatt Russell. I thought Wyatt Russell's John Walker was actually one of the best new additions to the MCU post-Endgame. The prediction that I had for his character after watching that Falcon and the Winter Soldier show was so different to where they took his character here, and I actually am happy about that. Well, they actually take these characters into a very fun direction leading into the future of the MCU. That's where the asterisk thing comes in, but we'll talk about that in the spoiler talk. And then a character like Ghost coming back from, to me, was one of the most forgettable movies, the second Ant-Man movie. But I'm glad to have her in this movie as well. And then there's Taskmaster. That's, Taskmaster is in the movie. To me, it has that James Gunn effect, but also in a different way. That James Gunn did a great job introducing Guardians of the Galaxy all in one movie, putting this ragtag team together, right? And this movie has that aura as well, right? Putting these characters together and making them, by the end, feel like a family and make you really, as the audience, really care for the survival of every single one of these characters. I did not want to see any of them get hurt. On the performances side, like I keep saying, I really like all of these characters, but a huge shout out has to go to Florence Pugh as Yelena. If there was one lead in this movie, that was her. The movie was focused on her, and I think she did a great job as Yelena, selling Yelena's depression and also kind of want for a family. David Harbour's Red Guardian brought the main humor here, and I think he does it in such a fun way because he's just there because he is excited, right? And everybody else isn't as excited about the prospect of them becoming a team, but he's the most excited about being in this team, and that's where the humor comes in, right? Because he just balances everybody out. And a massive shout out has to go to MCU debut Louis Pullman, who plays Bob. He plays Bob once again because he played Bob in Top Gun Maverick, but this Bob is very different. By the trailers, you may know, this isn't a spoiler, he plays the Void Sentry, also Bob. And his introduction to the MCU here, I thought he was really great in the movie because I thought he had a lot to do. From the start of his introduction as Bob, where I thought Louis Pullman did a great job of conveying Bob's depression across to the audience in a very subtle and sometimes not so subtle way, just, really painting us a good picture of this character, of this tragic character, who's also just looking for, a family and not to be alone. The action sequences are great in this movie. They pop very well. The camera work is great. There's an action sequence right in the beginning of the movie that has to do with Yelena, has to do with an over-the-top shot, and there's a lot of great shadow play in that too. I thought Jake Schreier, who directed this movie, did a great job. Thank you for the color grading, right? We've all been shitting on the recent Marvel visuals for where is the color grading, what's going on here. This movie has a unique visual style to it. It's color graded well. It just feels like Marvel, after a long time of just not putting out good content, felt like, you know what? Let's lock in for a second and like actually try to make a movie. Stuff that we used to do in the past, but something that we have strayed away from recently. Let's actually lock in on this one. And yeah, huge shout out to Jake Schreier and his team who put this movie together, because this movie does feel like a breath of fresh air for the MCU, especially for the most recent MCU that's been on a downward trajectory, but also brings back that old Marvel feeling. You'll hear a lot of people say that we are back after this movie, and that's because this movie just has that sense of like what we loved while watching those old Marvel movies. Like this, that feeling is in here. The ending of this movie may not work for everybody because, like I said, this movie deals with heavy topics and dark topics of depression and loneliness, and it kind of really goes in on that theme towards the end of the movie to kind of wrap it up. And for some people, that may not work. They may want a less retrospective ending and more of a big action ending, or they may not want for the ending to be so cliche. But for me personally, that ending like really worked. It felt really different, right? It doesn't have the big sky beam or a big action sequence, but I feel like because of what this movie was doing, I feel like it's pretty on brand for this movie to end the way it did, and it really worked for me. It made me tear up, actually. Towards the end of this movie, there's a scene in it where the team has to come together and do like a team thing, and when they all come together in this one perfect shot of this new team that we have, the Thunderbolts, I couldn't help myself but just have a big smile on my face, because I was like, I absolutely loved it, because everything in the movie, setting all of them up on this journey where they're just there in this one shot, the whole team, it just felt really, really earned, you know what I mean? And it felt like this great triumphant moment for this new awesome team. Yeah, the movie's really good. Let's quickly talk about some spoilers, because I just want to touch upon some things just spoilery wise. The main thing is the ending. I want to talk about real quick, because like I said, the ending for some people may not work, right? They defeat Sentry or the Void with the power of friendship. Even my friend who was sitting next to me, she was like, oh yeah, they defeated him with the power of friendship. For some people that may not work, and they may find that to be really cliche, but for me, especially in this movie that everybody's saying it feels like a breath of fresh air for Marvel, a different type of Marvel movie, it's kind of on brand, right? None of these guys can beat him physically. They can't. So how are they going to do it? They're going to talk to him. They're going to talk to him through his mental problems. They're going to share their mental problems, and they're going to come together as a unit mentally, right? Not really physically. And it makes sense to me. Yes, is it cliche that they end the movie with everybody just kind of hugging him? Yeah, you know, it ends on a group hug. It's cliche, but to me, it's a good cliche. When they all hugged him and came around Bob, who really needed them, right? That one shot of them, like I said, that's the shot that I was talking about. Just all of them together. I felt like I just had a really big smile on my face with just tears like building up in my eyes. I don't think they ever came out. They're building up in my eyes. And that was more like happiness and joy, right? Because it was a Marvel movie that was making me feel things. Slight negative is that, yes, Florence Pugh's Yelena is the star of this movie, and she's fantastic. I do wish just a couple of more minutes here and there was taken with some other characters. I thought they were doing some interesting things with John Walker, where towards the end of the movie that kind of starts to fade a little bit, and he starts to fade a little bit more into the background. Ghost doesn't really get that much development. She's there, she's cool, but we could have done a little bit more with her. And as a big fan of the Winter Soldier Bucky Barnes, good to see him back to his badass ways, but we could have given him just a little bit more to do. So that's my only negative, is that we could have maybe spread the love that Yelena got, and Yelena got a lot of love, and Bob too, obviously. I feel like we could have spread that just a little bit, maybe gave this movie just a little bit more minutes. It clocks in at 2 hours and 6 minutes. I feel like we could have maybe pushed it to maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes, just a couple more minutes for some characters would have been nice, because I like the team. I really do like the team, and they all work together very, very well. But I feel like we just, maybe to some of the other ones, we could have just given just a little bit more, you know? And yes, let's talk about that ending real quick. The asterisk the asterisk. I feel like a lot of people predicted that they might have been the new Avengers or the Dark Avengers. People were saying, well, they became the new Avengers. That was the ending. The Thunderbolts are now the new Avengers, which I like. It's hype. They got the new Avengers, man. People are wondering who's on the Avengers team. It's these guys, and then Sam Wilson, and then some other people too. And then, it's just a really hype ending. The last post-credit scene is obviously what everybody was raving about. It's exciting. It sets up another movie, right? The Fantastic Four is coming. What does that mean for the ending of the Fantastic Four? Me and a lot of people have always had the prediction that the Fantastic Four movie is going to end tragically, where their world is going to get destroyed. I feel like that's more and more going to be true. Also, in that last post-credit scene, I really like how everybody looks. The new costume that they got this new like Avengers penthouse or whatever, and the Fantastic Four is now coming towards them. That's exciting. And what's also really cool is that this post-credit scene ties into a Marvel movie that's coming out in just a couple months. It's not like this post-credit scene is tying into Avengers Doomsday, which is coming out like next year, but it's tying into a movie that's coming out very, very soon. So that's also cool. So I want to give a quick shout out to Wyatt Russell as John Walker, because there was this one scene specifically that stuck with me, because it was just I really wanted to applaud him for this minor little acting thing that he did. There's a scene where Bucky captures all of them, right? And he's talking to them. And he tells the group, Bucky tells the group that John Walker's wife left him and took the kid, right? And there's just a facial expression that Wyatt Russell's John Walker does as Yelena kind of looks at him like, really, dude? And he just looks at her with this face of like, yeah, but also just pure sadness. And again, it's small. It's a big moment for his character, but it's a small acting thing. But I thought Wyatt Russell just did great in that scene, just to sell the sadness of John Walker in that moment. As a really big fan of the franchise, and somebody who's with the most recent movies felt like some of them were fine, some of them were real misses, and we haven't in a long time gotten a movie that, for me personally, like really made me feel things. I feel like I've been on autopilot watching the last couple of Marvel movies, where this one, like, it actually brought out emotion out of me, and I felt like the screenplay was very compelling, and this movie just looked great too, and the characters were fantastic as well. And I'm so happy to see that the Thunderbolts are getting the love that they are getting, because once again, I was here from the start trying to hype this movie up, but now everybody has seen it, because it's a really good movie. You know what? I'm feeling generous today, so we'll give Thunderbolts a rating to end this review. With that, I'm going to give Thunderbolts an A, a solid A. So yeah, let me know down in the comments. Did you see Thunderbolts? What did you think about Thunderbolts? Would love to have a discussion with you about that. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. I'd really, really appreciate that. Look out for more reviews and reactions, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.